En esta ocasión, Blazing Boost está muy agradecido con las personas que compran servicios a través de la publicidad de creadores de contenido. Su mensaje es: nos sentimos muy honrados de ayudar a las personas a ser mejores jugadores y ahorrar tiempo jugando con profesionales. Recuerden que si quieren adquirir un servicio pueden usar mi código SAYDBB para un descuento extra y puntualizar que la página cuenta con 5 estrellas con más de 20,000 reviews. Continuamos. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. ¡Let's go!
Peggy 16.
Peggy 16.
I know what you're wondering. What is true and what is false?
False.
The Witch Queen is an unsettling mystery.
Un misterio.
Our biggest foe, Savathun, has our grandest tool, the light.
Se ha hecho nuestra mejor aliada.
Just paying off narrative threads that we planted way back in Destiny 1.
Varias cosas que se arrepintieron desde Destiny 1, imagínate.
How do we stop this?
The stakes in the universe are rising, and it's the greatest challenge that we've ever faced.
We're shedding that dogma of light equals good, darkness equals bad. We're really entering the mists and trying to discern what's in front of us and what's lurking just underneath.
Esas cinemáticas son hermosas, chicos.
There are a lot of
Cinemáticas de
bombshells
dioses.
in the Witch Queen narrative.
Un montón de sorpresas. ¿Se ve que va a ser algo?
Scratching the surface of what we're going to get into this year.
Luz en la oscuridad. Woo! Let's go!
Witch Queen and Season of the Risen is chapter 1 and the beginning of the end for the Light and Darkness saga.
Temporada de los Renacidos se llama,
Really getting to the core of what it means to be a guardian. We are looking at and asking big questions about the light and darkness.
We have a big bad that we've been anticipating for a really long time coming back in the form of Savathun.
Savathun's had a hand in most of the major conflicts that we've been involved with.
We've heard about Savathun for years,
Toda
and
la
just
vida,
bits and pieces,
hablando
and
de
then you see it
Toda la
slowly
vida.
building over seasons until we come to this huge critical
Y por
point.
fin llegamos.
Savathun's no longer just
Carajo.
someone you hear about.
She's not just interfering in little ways. She's now ready to take center stage.
Slate. 1, 2, 3.
No hay límites.
She's larger than life. We wanted to
Cuando
make
la
her feel
creatividad lo es
imposing
todo.
and very regal and dancing through motion in some way.
Light offers us a fresh start.
She's
Desde
very
tu cochera.
manipulative. She is very ethereal, but she also has like that creepiness to her as well.
She promised she'd help us out with this pyramid ship problem that's coming our way. But the reality of the situation is Savathun is only on Savathun's side. We've outlived our purpose, and it is to Savathun's benefit to wipe us off that chessboard.
She's lived among us. She has played us for fools. She knows us inside and out. And she's been a step ahead of us, like, the whole way. So how do you beat someone like that?
It isn't too late. You can still be forgiven. Be careful.
Ese cuervo es Dios.
I'll hold you to it.
Oh
In order
my
to beat
God.
Savathun, you need to understand Savathun.
Tienes que entender a Savathun, Dios mío.
Her throne world is a manifestation of Savathun's own personality, which is in Witch Queen going through a transformation through the light.
Que es algo como el acorazado, por
She
favor.
has these areas that she's kind of trying to shun and push away. For the old hive areas, it's much more atmospheric, it's very dense, it's very claustrophobic, it's spooky.
Una sensación de
Then
claustrofobia
when
y
you make your way
medio.
into the Lucent hive area, it's a lot more open and broad.
Ese
It's
lugar me
definitely brighter,
encanta.
it's
Se ve
definitely more
muy
lively.
bien, muy
We
bien.
want people to look at it like an impressionist painting, something that's very pretty from far away, but as you get closer, it's not really what it seems. It's very unsettling.
Joder, tío, la colmena es Dios. Siempre que algo dedicado a la
You're looking
colmena
at shapes, you're looking at these things within the
es
world, and you're not
buenísimo.
entirely sure what they are, and you have to get close and you have to investigate.
What's really going to be exciting for players is that they're going to get to play that part of psychic detective, trying to
Vamos a ser
solve the many
detectives.
mysteries of the throne world.
Y a la gente de Bungie o de Destiny, los jugadores, nos encanta resolver misterios todo
Witch
el
Queen
tiempo.
campaign, I think, is probably the most ambitious campaign we've made in a very long time.
Ojo con eso, La campaña más
We're building the
ambiciosa.
definitively Destiny campaign, so leaning into the journey you can find in exotic missions or the mechanics you might find in a dungeon.
Tío,
You
las
have to kind of
mecánicas
think
de la
your way through. You have to
mazmorra.
figure out, like, hey, what do I need to do next in order to get to the end of this?
We've got Savathun, right? The Queen of Lies. So this campaign is full of surprises.
Madre mía.
Savathun has all these abilities, and you got to make sure that all of the abilities of the bosses would be something worthy of her. And as I kept thinking about this, you know, I felt like I was really becoming Savathun.
We've also added the legendary difficulty, which is called Become Legend.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's going to be loaded with these moments that are going to be frustrating, almost like teeth gnashing, but when you get through those encounters, you're going to feel like really accomplished.
Double rewards.
Doble de recompensas.
As people who have
Let's
worked on raids and
go.
dungeons before, being able to broaden that experience for any kind of player who comes in is really important.
If the Witch Queen is the psychic detective fantasy and journey, then Season of the Risen is that same detective throwing on their flak jacket and defending Earth from the Hive Guardians and the Lucent Hive and Savathun herself.
When Savathun shows up on our doorstep with the light, the first person to lend us help is Keitel.
You want us to hit them?
I need us to hit them.
She's got this light suppressing technology that the Cabal were using in Season of the Chosen, and now she's going to help us use that against the Lucent Hive.
When you're working with Keitel, she has a different approach. It's not about asking questions, it's about getting in there and extracting.
We don't really understand what happened when Savathun actually was able to take the light. So the campaign in Season of the Risen in many ways is about that story. Guardians need to stop Savathun's advance beyond the throne world. And Savathun poses an existential threat to everyone because she basically has an undead army.
¡Ah! Me encantan los enemigos con sus clases. Es una verdadera
In
joya.
fighting the Lucent Brood, this isn't our first time in the game fighting other light bearers, but it is the first time that we'll be facing other light bearers that have much more relentless motives.
Madre mía. Eso es brutal,
When you look at these Hive Guardians and when they do their abilities, you immediately make that connection like, oh, they are using my powers against me. As soon as we see the Knight pop its super and it has 2 shields, you immediately are like, oh yeah, I see that connection. And then it's like, and then you're like, it hits you with those things and then you're dead, and it's just an amazing experience.
The Guardians themselves kind of feel like fire team that you're fighting against. You got every class represented.
The Acolyte, when that character casts, does very similar thing as the player, like,
Güey, la Acolyte es un hunter. La bruja es la hechicera.
It's ready to go. If you're not smart about it, if you're not paying attention, you are essentially going to have to play that fight over again.
No, hay que ejecutarla siempre,
and taking down one of these Hive units that are wielding the light, you actually have to go up and kill their ghosts.
That was like one of my favorite things that we were able to do in this game, is just that moment where you crush the ghost.
It's kind of this moral dilemma. A ghost is your companion, and now suddenly you have one in your hand and you're about to crush it.
The first time it happens, you're like looking at your hand like, I can't believe what I've just done. Am I doing this? Should I be doing this?
I have a ghost.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What is going on?
Oigan, estos espectros irán al cielo.
Savathun and her Lucent Brood are the most dangerous enemies we've faced so far. And so we're going to need better, more powerful weapons and tools to fight against that threat.
We did a bunch of work early on looking at various different types of weapons we could add to the sandbox.
We wanted to introduce a special weapon archetype that was effective more at a middle range, but also had these kind of additional roles associated
Esa
with
arma
it.
es Dios, es
The glaive
hermosa.
is a projectile weapon, and it is a shield, and it's a melee weapon.
O sea,
We wanted
es
to
3 en
keep that
1. 3 en
experience
1 es
in
arma.
first person. It has an immediacy that you don't really get when you're using a sword,
La
because the
velocidad que tienen
camera
las
is so much
espadas,
further
buenísimo.
back. Because this is also a projectile weapon with a slower moving projectile, the onus of skill on aiming these weapons is about
Puso un escudo,
reading and
puso un
compensating
escudo.
for the speed of the projectile and anticipating that.
Joder, qué
If you're in a
joya.
really difficult encounter and
Eso
one
va
of
a
your
estar roto,
teammates
chat.
dies somewhere out in the open where you normally wouldn't be able to get to them, you can bring that shield up and actually get the revive and then fall back.
Brutal.
Glaives
brutal.
originate with Savathun trying to steal an extremely powerful weapon for her own use, and players will use the weapon crafting recipes that they find throughout the campaign in order to reconstruct this incredibly
Vale, chicos,
powerful
viene
and
la construcción de
incredibly
armas.
ancient weapon.
Pongan atención, construcción de
When you put
armas.
together your glaive in the campaign, you just get a taste that that's what you want to do for
the rest of the weapons that you get.
Weapon crafting lets you target a specific role and go and build that, and you know how long it's going to take you to get there, and you get exactly the thing that you want.
I really want to see what people do with it and like the feedback that we're gonna get and people sharing all of the things that they're doing with that new system.
You're creating your guardian and you want to be able to shape your guardian into what you want them to be.
Eso es
and this
buenísimo.
gives us a great opportunity to continue to to do that.
O sea, ya no van a ser los God Roles aleatorios. Tú los creas. Ojo con eso. Miren el gusano. El gusano me da risa y mentiras.
Exotic submachine gun. This is something which Guardians have made, but it's modeled after weapons of sorrow, like Thorn and Touch of Malice. Fires swarms of tiny homing projectiles that land on a target and then explode in this poison burst.
Esa arma es
We have
hermosa.
an exotic machine gun where the whole idea is be the Colossus. You can launch a barrage of up to 20 homing missiles.
It's a comical amount of projectiles on the screen.
Sí, muchísimo.
We're doing
20
an exotic
misiles de
glaive
una.
for each class this time, and the exotic perks tie deeply into the mechanics of the classes.
Vale, chicos,
I think they're going
tres.
to be really cool additions to build crafting. We've
La de
got the
vacío.
usual suite of raid weapons, destination, activity, seasonal. I recounted it this morning. I think it's
Las
about
armas.
50 new weapons.
50 armas
You're
nuevas,
going to have
madre
2 new
mía.
exotic armors for each class, totaling 6, 1 stasis, 1 non-stasis. The Titan stasis exotic
Dos
caster
armaduras
barricade instead of,
exóticas por
this
personaje.
Traveler's Light and the Rally Barricade, you create a giant wall of ice. Even though this thing is massive, you still get all the benefits of a Rally Barricade. Warlock Void exotic, we called them the Devouring Rift legs because we wanted Empowering Rift to feel like it had a place in endgame content the way that Healing Rift does. Empowering Rift doesn't heal you, well, what if it did?
In Season 16, you're going to see a massive revamp to the Void subclass system across all 3 classes. This is a huge update and will allow players to build craft in ways that they've never done before.
One of the things we wanted to do is create a core set of verbs like we did with Stasis.
Anyone can run suppressors now. I think that's the pretty cool
That's
thing
probably,
to be
I'm
able
going to be running suppressor grenade probably.
Granadas
You wanted you to
supresoras.
feel like you were the energy vampire. Feel like you were the Night Stalker. Feel like you were that protector, that big Sentinel Titan. So you're going to see things like Bastion, a new Titan aspect, where you take your big old Sentinel shield, slam it into the ground, and create this Void Barricade that's going to apply Overshield to you and your buddies.
My favorite aspect is probably Child of the Old Gods. As this warlock controlling space and
Descendiente de los
time, I'm able
antiguos
to rip a
dioses.
hole into another dimension and then pull out this little like sentient black
¿Qué
hole.
es eso?
Whenever I target an enemy, my little black hole buddy is gonna fly over there and start draining their life
No,
force.
es
The
demasiado.
Void 3.0
Está muy
update
bueno.
is really setting the stage for how we're thinking about updating the subclasses for the rest of the year.
We're going to extend this philosophy to Solar and Arc. Solar obviously is going to be about burning, but there's this
Tendría
other
que ver con el
component to
fuego.
Solar, and that's healing. Arc is all about chaining. It's all about lightning, direct attacks, quickness. We're going to take
Pura
the
velocidad.
fantasies that you know and love today. We're going to embellish them. So what you'll see is like all of the new abilities, all the new actions you take, reinforce that to the core. Pretty excited about it.
Me muero de ganas igual. Brutal. Que el Solar
Which is very
salga.
much the culmination of the last 6 to 7 years of just Destiny altogether. And really, this is starting the road to the final showdown. But things aren't necessarily just dark and light anymore. There's a lot more nuance in the game.
It's going to be a real fight. Players have something that they're really going to be challenged by.
I can't wait for everyone to find out what's been going on with Savathûn. Like, I'm excited.
You Guardians are so clever, aren't you?
From the throne world to the campaign to the customizable build crafting, it all comes together to make Destiny feel really new and fresh.
We've got more Destiny coming this year than any
Más
other year
Destiny,
before.
chicos,
It's
más
one of the most
Destiny que
ambitious
ningún
releases we've ever
otro
put
año.
together, and the team is firing on all cylinders.
Wow, eso es brutal. Eso es brutal.
Tell me, Guardian, what do you say?
El mejor año, chicos, para ser fan de Destiny. Ojo con eso, 2022 viene fuerte. El mejor puto año para ser fan de Destiny. Y el mejor DLC promete Bungie, o el más ambicioso. Así que ojo con eso, chicos.